and the Baltimore Orioles. At some point in this game of pitching musical chairs, the Orioles right in their window to win right now, they're going to have to make a decision. Are they willing to make an uncomfortable trade to get, the frontline starting pitcher they need?
We welcome you back to Foul Territory with our next live guest. Buster Olney, of course, of ESPN, has done a tremendous job for decades on the baseball beat. We appreciate you taking the time, Buster, to be with us. Welcome to Foul Territory. I understand this is your first appearance on the big show.
That's exactly right. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Buster, great to be with you. Let's get to it. Luis Severino, 3 hours ago, we would not have thought that the Athletics were going to make any big moves. They did, reportedly giving him a 3-year, $67 million deal, reported by your colleague, Jeff Passan. What more can you tell us?
That going into this offseason, what you heard a lot from executives, from agents is that the guys at the top of the free agent market were going to kill it, because so many teams are trying to get better for next year. It feels like in the last decade we've had a high number of teams have tried to tank, but this offseason it feels like the teams like the Athletics, the Pirates, are actually going to be out there spending money. That's what I was hearing at the beginning of November, and that's what we're seeing. You see the Angels go out and sign Kikuchi, $63 million. Severino gets $67 million. It just tells you that as we move forward, guys like Max Fried, Corbin Burns, they're going to absolutely kill it. That's when you saw what Severino got, it was like, okay, here we go. Even the A's are spending money.
Maybe I'm just jumping to conclusions, but are you insinuating that Sevy got more than you thought he would get?
Somewhat. I thought, for a guy who, had such a tough 2023, the way he bounced back in 2024, showing the ability to make adjustments, really hearing outside information for the first time. I remember I had a conversation with him early in the year, and, he's telling me about last offseason, how he went to Driveline, how he wanted to, work on different pitches that he had. And I talked to a Yankees official. He goes, that's not the Severino we had. They early in his career, they viewed him as being stubborn. Well, last year he demonstrated with the Mets that he could make adjustments, and he went out, had a really good season. And I think that's a pretty good contract for him, based on how he had done the year before, based on how he finished.
Yeah, for sure. But if I were to throw two out there, because you said Kikuchi and you said Severino. Is $4 million more for Severino the route you would have gone based on track record, everything? As far as who do you think got the better deal?
I think actually that it was Kikuchi given his age, right? I love the contract. And I know the Angels, from talking with folks there, they went in this offseason feeling like, look, we need to be aggressive. We want to get guys who want to be here, who can be leaders among the young players that we have, who can be, guys who can be mentors in our clubhouse. And I think that was their filter. Who actually wants to be here? And so I think they spent pretty aggressively on Kikuchi.
Speaking of pitching, and now that we've seen some guys kind of go, and we're all waiting for Soto to go, we're assuming that a lot of things are gonna fall there. There is one guy out there that there's been rumblings around that might be acquirable through trade, and that is Garrett Crochet. Yeah. Have you heard anything developing in that side of things, and any idea where Crochet could end up landing, or if he just stays with the White Sox? Yeah,
I'm sure you guys have heard this, that the White Sox, all things being equal, their priority would be to get position player returned back. At the trade deadline, when they had the Phillies involved, the Braves involved, the Dodgers involved, their internal conversations were, unless we get exactly what we want, then we're not going to move him. And at that time, there was a lot of executives of other teams who thought that the White Sox missed their best window of opportunity to trade Crochet. Well, you know what? The gamble that the White Sox played paid off, because now Crochet's demonstrated he can pitch over the course of a full year. He continues to be healthy. And I think as time goes on, he's going to be viewed as the best alternative to teams that don't want to pay, $200 million plus to a Corbin Burns. And we've seen with Chris Getz that he is willing to wait. He doesn't feel like that, hey, I have to trade this guy in December at the winter meetings. He doesn't feel pressure. He's got to do it in January. We saw him trade Dylan Cease last March. And so executives of other teams who are having conversations with the White Sox are telling me they think that, Chris is in a great position to get what he wants. Now, as you guys know from the trade deadline last year, at one point, the Phillies had a deal on the table, and if they'd been willing to trade Andrew Painter, they would have gotten Crochet. The Red Sox clearly have this great group of prospects to deal from. I don't know exactly who the White Sox are targeting in that one, but they would seem to be in a great position. And the Baltimore Orioles, at some point in this game of pitching musical chairs, the Orioles right in their window to win right now, they're going to have to make a decision. Are they willing to make an uncomfortable trade to get, the frontline starting pitcher they need? Or, are they going to have to try to go get someone like Nathan Eovaldi, who's less expensive than, say, a Max Fried or a Corbin Burns? I think, Chris is going to have an opportunity to make a great trade here.
Yeah, and less expensive certainly than Blake Snell, who was probably the biggest domino of the dominoes not named Juan Soto to fall. He obviously goes to Los Angeles. But right now, Buster, as you know better than anybody, everyone's waiting to see where will Juan go. And the last time that the Mets and the Yankees kind of battled for that epic free agent was back in the days of Carlos Beltran. Beltran wanted to sign with the Yankees, but they passed at the final offer. Both teams, though, have a different owner now. Obviously, Hal Steinbrenner with the Yanks and Steve Cohen with the Mets. And you obviously were covering those two teams when this Beltran thing went down. What do you remember about that time? And is this situation similar in that sense?
So it's interesting. In both those situations, it wasn't exactly a level playing field. That situation of Mike Mussina was another one. When he was a free agent, Mussina went and talked to the Mets as well as the Yankees. But I covered Mike in Baltimore, and he told me at the beginning of that process, he goes, look, no matter what you hear, I'm going to sign with the Yankees. so he did go and he did negotiate with the Mets to help his leverage with the Yankees. He winds up signing with the Yankees. In Beltran's case, the Yankees had some interest in Beltran, but he wasn't really a priority for them. I think Carlos wanted the Yankees more than the Yankees wanted him at that moment. Well, in this case, we actually have these two monster, New York teams who actually, unlike when the Wilpons own the Mets, they actually are full board. They have more money than the Yankees have. I mean, this is the first time we've seen the Yankees and the Mets go toe to toe. And the stories that I'm hearing out of the meetings that Juan has had with these teams, he's getting to know Steve Cohen. Although he was with the Yankees all year, he really didn't spend that much time with Hal Steinbrenner. Hal and he had some nice conversations in that meeting where there was a get to know for Juan. I think that the money is so extraordinary, and Trevor, Eric, you guys know better than I do. It's to the point where, let's say that, the Yankees offer with deferred money is at $700 million and the Mets are at $750. Is that really a big difference when you're talking about that kind of money paid out over 15 years? Or in the end, is Soto going to be like Judge and say, you know what, there's a particular team I want to play with? In Judge's case, it was the Yankees, and we're going to find out where Soto wants to play. I mean, no matter who pays him, whether it's the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Mets, he's going to get the biggest contract in the history of baseball.
This holiday season, I want to give a gift to my loved ones that makes them feel special and unique. That gift is StoryWorth.
Here's how it works. Each week, StoryWorth emails your loved one a thought-provoking question that you get to help pick. Things like, what's the bravest thing you've ever done? And what's the farthest you've ever traveled? All your loved one needs to do is respond with a story. Long or short, it doesn't matter. After that year of fun, StoryWorth compiles those stories and photos into a beautiful keepsake hardcover book that you'll be able to share and revisit for generations to come. This is the perfect book to pass along at family gatherings or read with your kids. It is beautifully orchestrated by StoryWorth, and that's why it has more than 35,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot, with millions of stories preserved since they were founded over 10 years ago.
With StoryWorth, I'm giving those I love most a thoughtful personal gift from the heart and preserving their memories and stories for years to come. Go to storyworth.com/foul and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/foul to save $10 on your first purchase. Love to hear that. You have covered so much baseball. You've covered the Yankees and Red Sox in their heyday. We're not there anymore. The Red Sox have fallen off. They won all their championships. So the rivalry has kind of it's kind of gotten weird. If this goes down to the Yankees and Mets, and the Mets win out, could we start the new rivalry, even though they're not in the same division, between the Mets and the Yankees? And is that going to be great for baseball?
It would be fantastic for baseball if that's the way it played out. And my sense is, Steve Cohen has not been shy about spending, but let's face it, when Judge became a free agent and we saw, he was talking to the Giants, he was talking to the Padres, who didn't get involved in that, even though they had an acute need for a corner outfielder with power? The Mets, okay? Because I think Steve Cohen was being polite at that time. Well, that's kind of gone by the wayside. and I do love the idea of these two teams going at it. Steve Cohen walking in with a checkbook, with a very different personality than Hal, who's very understated. Steve's around the team. He likes to be public. Hal, on the other hand, unlike George, stays behind the scenes. And Alana, you were talking about, maybe going to Nashville, and seeing some country music stars. I'm so old. I've been covering the sport for so long. The first team I covered was the Nashville Sounds in 1989 and 90. And the part owner of that team was Richard Sturban of the Oak Ridge Boys, and he would sit in the press box after every game and watch. But you're right. There would be a lot of country music stars there.
It'd be awesome.
We have the winter meetings coming up. And I'm sure that is always fun for you every year. We have the Soto thing being held kind of over our head and trying to figure out where he's going. But of the guys out there that are still available, barring a Soto signing and kind of the floodgates opening is what I'm going to guess. What players do you think are most likely to maybe be moved before Soto goes? And do you think that the winter meetings will have a big effect on whether or not that happens?
Boy, Trevor, that is a hard one to say, in part because so much is tied to Soto, right? If you're Willy Adames right now and you're coming off this great season, you're probably a plan B for, the player that the Yankees would turn to, or the player that the Mets would turn to if they don't get Soto. They're dominoes off of Willy Adames. Alex Bregman's going to be affected by that. I think we're going to find out about Soto within the next 48 to 96 hours. And at that point, the teams that are involved are going to pivot hard. And at the beginning of this offseason, I was told by some agents, some executives, other teams, that the Blue Jays reek of desperation, that the Blue Jays are going to do something big. They're going to be aggressive, because they have the situation where you have 1 year left with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., you got 1 year left with Bo Bichette. You basically, going forward, have almost a clean slate of a payroll, other than one more year, I think, with Kevin Gausman, one more year of George Springer. So you can go to Juan Soto and say, we'll give you a blank check. And, I don't think he's going to wind up with the Blue Jays. And if he's not, they're going to go out and they're going to do some other things. The Red Sox, you guys remember last winter when Tom Werner came out and said that what the Red Sox are going to full throttle, and people in New England kind of laughed at that. I don't think Sam Kennedy, their team president, would have come out and spoken the way that he did without it being real. That the Red Sox, if they don't get Soto, they're going to turn and do something big, whether it is a Burns or it is a Max Fried, something like that. As I mentioned at the top, the need around the sport for teams to get better is acute. There's more desire among teams to get better than there is talent available. And that's why the numbers are going to be off the charts when they start to fall here in the next few days.
Unfiltered, golden at bat conversation. I need to hear Buster's unfiltered opinion of the golden at bat.
Okay, so back in '95, when Bud Selig, suggested we go to a wild card, I thought that was terrible. It was great. I was totally in favor of the pitch clock, and I thought that was great. That turned out to be great. It can work. Some of these ideas can be great. I think the Ghost Runner, as much as a lot of old school baseball fans don't like it, I think it's great for the players. And I've had too many conversations, or so many conversations with players who, when we go to the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th inning, the dominoes of that, I think it's been great with the Ghost Runner. This is so contrived and so out of the norm of what the sport is, I can't stand it. and I hope they bury it as quickly as possible.
I love that. I'm so glad that you said that, Buster Olney. Thank you so much for that. Before we let you go, we have a fan question from Daniel Rothenberg. He wants to know, if you had to retire today, not that we're telling you to go anywhere, we love your work. If you had to retire today and a current player, not these two guys, not AJ or Trevor, but a current player had to take your job, who would it be?
Wow. Boy, oh boy. That there's so many. You walk away from conversations with so many players these days and you go, man, that guy could take my job. There's no question about it. I'm just running through my head, team by team by team. I mean, Juan Soto would be the idea that someone learned English in 2 years and was doing interviews in a second language after 2 years is pretty remarkable, but I don't think he's going to make way too much money to take my job. Okay.
A relief pitcher, backup catcher. You'll have to go there.
Yeah. Well, does it have to be a current player?
Yes. It can't be Eric Kratz or Trevor May.
Man, there's so many. You know what? Jake Rogers of the Tigers. He is phenomenal when you talk with. He is so much fun to talk to. He told me that last year, Eric, you can relate to this. He was keeping track. He and a former one of his coaches, they were keeping track of how many players they got ejected because of their framing. Opposing pitching coaches, that sort of thing. It was one of the coolest things I've ever heard. One of the coolest stories. If you guys have Jake on, you got to ask him about the notches in his shin guards.
All right, we will do that. Buster, thank you so much. Best of luck at winter meetings. Please hurry up and tell Juan Soto to sign so we can start talking about something else. We appreciate you. Happy holidays, my friend.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.